Good morning and half a day. The Committee on General Government Appropriation and Housing is now called to order. For the record, today is Thursday, June 9, 2022, and the time now is 9 o'clock. Notice for this budget hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets. First public notice was issued on May 26 and followed by June 2nd. The committee will now hear Bill 276-36 COR submitted by the Committee on Rules by the request of the I Maga'hågan Guåhan, the Governor of Guam, in accordance with the Organic Act of Guam, an act making appropriations for the operation of the executive branch of the Government of Guam for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2023, making other appropriations, establishing miscellaneous and administrative provisions relative to the Department of Parks and Recreation State Historic Preservation Office. I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues that have joined me this morning. We have Speaker Therese Terlai, Senator Untitled, Senator Amanda Shelton, and I believe other colleagues will be showing up shortly. Those testifying on Bill 276-36 relative to the Department of Parks and Recreation and State Historic Preservation Office are invited to the panel. We have Director Roque Contra. I'd ask him to introduce the panel in a few minutes after I finish with all the rules, okay? The general rules of this budget hearing: written testimony shall be submitted to the committee. Please provide my legislative staff with your written testimony for photocopying. Testimonies may be read, and lengthy testimony should be summarized to about 5 minutes. But Director, you have more than 5 minutes. You have this morning, okay? We're going to entertain as much of Parks and Rec as possible, and the SHPO office. Those testifying be allowed to present oral testimony. Once you're done, please remain in the room for questions or for additional testimony as may be desired by members of the committee. Questions and testimony shall be confined to the agenda, which is the budget of Parks and Rec and the SHPO office. Personal inference as to the character or motive of any senator or any individual testifying is not permitted. Any violations of this general rule of conduct will result in removal from the budget hearing. Proper form and decorum shall be practiced by all present in the public hearing room for these proceedings. Individuals who fail to maintain proper form and decorum will be restricted from oral testimony and will be removed from the room. When you speak, please make sure that the microphone is on, that you speak into the microphone. Other questions may be submitted to the committee for submission to the agency for response. Please state your name and your title for the record. At this time, I ask the panel to please rise, and the Sergeant Armour will swear you in for your testimony. Everyone, please rise. Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Under penalty of perjury, do you all affirm that any and all information you provide today, whether it be verbally, electronically, and in writing, be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay. Mr. Chair, under oath, you may proceed.
Thank you, Sergeant Arms. And Mr. Contra, my understanding is that you have a PowerPoint that we provided to everyone, but you're going to use that as a reference, so my colleagues would just use this and just follow along with your presentation. So, sir, I'd ask you first to introduce your folks, and then you can begin your testimony for your budget. Thank you.
Good morning, Senators and Agustin, Senator Shelton, Speaker Therese Terlai, and Senator Untitled. Okay. Good morning. I am Roque Contra, the Director of Parks and Rec, and I have with me my support staff that will answer any of the questions that the panel wants to address. I have on my right Will Stinnett. It's a recreational administrator. I got John Glenn Tidegui, which is the property control officer. I got Patrick Lujan, the SHPO. And I got the 2 park rangers that have been handling the parks for forever that will be testifying on my behalf. Okay, so thank you very much. Okay. As you know, the mission of Parks and Rec is mandated by Public Law 12-209, and it's to develop, direct, and manage all provisions of the 21 GSA Chapter 77 and 76, to administer department to establish park, recreation, and historical division. Okay. It's also to control, manage, develop, and maintain all areas within the park system, and then provide burial services and maintenance at the public cemetery, Vicente Limpiaco, which is Tiguac Cemetery, and provide general visitor services, protection of people and property, and enforce the laws and rules and regulations of the park protection system. Initiate, promote, and supervise recreational program within the territorial park system, provide equipment as necessary, formulate comprehensive recreational policy, and develop of new recreational facilities. Also to maintain and arrange functions that provide public recreation prescribed by the director and the governor. Also to formulate a comprehensive plan and policy for the RUM, which is the Recreational Water Use Management Plan. And those are the watercraft that are being utilized over at East Agana. And also to maintain recreation and restoration and preservation of historical areas, building sites significant to Guam's past, and employ sufficient professional and technical staff for the historical preservation and restoration. And also to provide the use of parks facilities for government use upon the approval and authorization of the governor. Okay, so in the Parks and Rec, we have 4 sections. We have the director's office that maintains inventory of the park system, and does the operational and staffing of the department. Then we have the park division that does the maintenance cost of and the cost provided to them to maintain the park, and even through park adoptions and public-private partnership agreement. Also to complete the closure of the current public cemetery and open a new public cemetery. So that's in the plans right now. On the recreational division, they are supposed to increase recreational activities for health and fitness and develop partnership and volunteer programs for recreational activities. And then, of course, the Guam Historical Resource Division is conduct a comprehensive survey of historical properties and maintain the historic properties inventory and Guam Register of Historical Places. So that's in a description of what Parks and Rec has as far as their division, and what we're obligated to provide for the public. Okay. And I provided the 74 parks that we are actually overseeing, and the description will show you who adopted it and who's maintaining it, and also to include the maintenance of the restrooms. So those are in this handout that we have, and also we have the completed projects that we had for the past year, and those are also the restrooms and the renovation of some parks, and of course the baseball fields and the basketball fields. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Contra, I would highly recommend, we do have a copy of it, but I would hope that you would want to go through this, because I remember several years back, I think that you identified in your first slide here, 5.6 million was from the Department of Interior.
Yes.
And you identified the funding. And I'm just concerned about, as I go through your, it's actually a PowerPoint, it would have been great if we had seen it. And the reason why, because you could go through it, it actually answers itself. But at the same token, as I look at this sheet here, there's a couple of parks in Dept I know for a fact were adopted by some folks. And the reason why I know they adopted it, because every now and then they'll call me personally and they say, Primo, can you come down and help us? We're cutting it again once a month. And they maintain the park, but I don't see them listed at all.
Senator, if they're not listed, then it's not under our inventory?
It's not on your inventory,
Yeah.
but I know for a fact it's a park, it's a tennis court. The guy cleaned it all up. Okay, it could, like my colleague mentioned, could be under the mayor, but I know for a fact.
Yes.
The reason why I mentioned this, Roque, is that I saw the sheet. I saw the adoption paper, and I was with him when he went and he got it signed. And I'm only saying is that you may want to go through one more time your inventory, double check it, you know, make sure the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Because I know for a fact, personally, these folks have come to me and they said, Joe, can you help us out? And I've gone out and helped them. And I still help them. And I'm only concerned is that it's under Parks and Rec. I know for a fact, it has the big sign on it. The mayor's involved. But as long as I know, and if I have to check with land management, who owns the property, it's gonna come back to Parks and Rec. And it's a benefit to you because why? It's being maintained. It's clean. I mean, this one park, for example, Mr. Contra, he spent at least $4,000 to remove trees and remove all the debris because it became a dumping site. He spent over $4,000 to clean it all up, and it's maintained today. Right now, you can go up there. I think Island Girl Power in Dendu was claiming they were doing it. No, I know for a fact who cuts the grass there. I know for a fact who cleans the trash. But with that, if you're pretty much done with your presentation, I'll ask the oversight chair. You'll go last. Madam Speaker, do you have any questions for them? And then we can. Okay, then like some of my colleagues are asking, can we just go over your sheet?
Sure.
And just go over each one sheet at a time, and you know it could be easy and smooth, but at least you can direct us to where we're at. So when we ask you questions about it,
Yeah.
at least you know what we're referring to, which page, and it becomes smoother. I'd like to also recognize that we're joined by, I think the other oversight chair also, because it deals with SHPO, Senator Telina Nelson. And I know we're going to have questions for SHPO, but that's the easy one for Pat. Pat enjoys that. He just needs money to make sure he's able to do what he needs to do. All right, so
Okay.
Mr. Contra, if you
Sure.
can, please. We'll
So,
just go one sheet at a
we
time
just
and just go through it smoothly.
Go to
Thank
the
you.
second sheet. Okay, of course, the funding is coming from the DOI grant, and it's for renovation and improvement of basketball courts, tennis courts, public restrooms, you know, and of course, if you see the Inarahan pool there, okay, that's being renovated as of now and should be completed by the end of the month.
Pardon me, Mr. Director. Do we have the slides? Does our audio? Oh, we don't.
You know,
Oh, okay. All right.
Do you have it on thumb drive, the slides?
No.
Do you have this on?
no, it's on a computer actually at the office. We don't
Okay.
have, this is just information that I provided to
Okay.
the panel. You know, it's just an update of what has happened through
Okay.
the years.
So why don't we just go ahead and continue on? I apologize to my colleagues that the agency doesn't have it. And then maybe we can
Yeah,
get it.
I can send it to
Please.
you, sir. Yeah,
Yes, please, so we can send it to everyone.
yeah.
All right,
I'll do that, yes.
all right.
Okay, so phase one, which is the third page, phase one is all the 16 restrooms around the island, which is included like the skate park, the Chinese park, EPAL. They're all included here, and there's a total of 16 restrooms. So that's completed. We finally got a contractor to do the maintenance on May 23rd. So hopefully that the assessment that they're doing right now is that they're going around and looking at what is damaged, because those restrooms have been idle for a while, and a lot of the homeless have been infiltrating into the restrooms. So I'm identifying all of those repairs. Hopefully that by next week I should have a general information on what needs to be done before we start opening the restrooms. Okay, so that we just got awarded a contract for over a year, and we finally got it. Okay. And if you go back to the other page, you can see what was renovated in the restrooms. You know, new toilets, new urinals, and those actually, some of those were damaged already. It's just awful. The skate park is completely closed because both sides of the restrooms have been devastated by, you know, just like a typhoon went through there. So that, and also EPAN is another park that's always been damaged. You know, I don't know how many times you have to go down there. And so we had to close down those parks, you know, and until we get a maintenance contract on board. So now that we have one maintenance contract on board, they will be actually on site every day to monitor what's going on in the restroom. So hopefully there will be no more homeless using the restrooms. Okay. And then of course there's the renovation of the Rignetti's tennis court. We actually resurfaced the tennis court and put lights on, you know, and so that's on the page after that. Also the skate park up at Dededo, there we actually built a dog park there, right next to the pavilion there, that and it's now adopted by the dog, Mrs. Guzman from the dog organization. And then if you go through the next page, there's a phase 2 going on right now. Most of the phase 2 have been awarded. The only three villages that haven't been awarded their contract for repair of the gyms is Mangilaw, Tamuning, and Mangilaw, Tamuning, and Barrigada. Those are the 3 villages that will have their gyms renovated. Their renovation will be just like the gym up at Sinahanya. Okay, those are the 3 remaining items on phase 2. So everything else is awarded and ready for construction. And the remaining work there is down at GSA for the we call it the camera, the surveillance camera that is out for bid. So that's under phase 2. There's, you know, that's under DOI funding. Okay, the ones that are completed here are there's a lot of completion that was done on this phase 2, and it's on that. I think the ones that are completed is the Dededo Lechen Park. If you have, that's the senior citizen park at Dededo, right behind the mayor's office. That's completed. And then we have the awning at the Sinahanya Community Center. That's completed. And right now the Paseo Guerrero Field is under renovation, should be completed by the end of the month. So those are all under phase 2. Now we do have a phase 3 that we're doing paperwork on it, and that is to renovate the Jonia baseball field. It's in dire need of repair. Okay, and you know all this going through there, you can see that the CCTV is on the phase 2, and you can see where the installation will be done, and so that's right now in the process. Hopefully, we can get that contract going. Okay, so most of this, the contract have been awarded, groundbreaking have been done, and they're ready for construction. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Has Jigu ever requested for renovation of their gym they have up there? Have they asked for any assistance from Parks and Rec? Or
No, they asked their basketball court to be renovated.
are you talking about the one near the senior citizen center, or are you talking about the gym itself that's closer to the power plant?
At Jigo?
Yeah, that's correct.
No, it's not. They didn't ask
Okay.
for renovation. But, you know, yeah.
I'll send you a letter
Sure, okay, no
requesting,
problem.
because I know the gym up in Jigu, the main gym, there's a lot of folks that go there.
Sure.
The outside basketball court next to the senior citizen center needs to be renovated, and I'll send you a letter, official
Yeah,
letter
that's,
requesting
that basketball court is one of my projects.
on your projects. Okay, because I think even the baseball field needs to be upgraded, the fencing and stuff like that. Just moving along real quickly, I'd like to also recognize that additional other colleagues have joined us, Senator Chris Duenas and Senator Joanne Brown. Morning, sir. Just looking generally at your budget, you asked for an increase, but you also asked for a decrease of $78,000 less. You reduced in the director's office, the pool and beach, because I'm just concerned about the lifeguards. I'm hoping that you may be able to reach out to DOA and take a pay evaluation of the lifeguards and see what we can do to take care of them. You know, because if anything happens on the beach, other than the park ranger hoping to arrive, that lifeguard's gonna be the first one that's gonna have to run out there in the water or run down the beach to save that individual's life. And I wanna make sure that they're not police officers, but if there's a fight, they're the first one that brings their board to separate folks before Mr. Mesa and the other folks show up. But at least they're your frontliners. We wanna make sure they're taken care of. And then just moving down the line, you also identified $19,000 less from SHPO. I would assume that's SHPO that's identified here, the Guam Historic Resources and Historic Preservation. If you can just explain pretty much why the budget went down that you're requesting. Director's office, $132,000. Is that because you have less people to hire, or there's nobody waiting to join Parks and Rec?
No, we actually are still processing people to come in. We have actually on board one labor that we just hired and a customer service rep that we just got on board. And then also we do have 2 park rangers that is in the process right now to being on board. It's just a matter of documentation. And then also we have the 6 park rangers that are waiting for processing, for testing, drug testing and all that. So in total, about 8 park rangers. They actually started out with 28 or 30 applicants, and then went down to 9, and then that's what's left over right now.
Understood. But I'm just referring to when you look at your budget, this document I have, if you can look at it directly, specifically, it's identified $132,000 less for director's office. Can you please explain that? Why it's less 132? Because I see on the different section going down, territorial park patrol and seashore protection, that's the park rangers. There's no reduction there. There's actually a plus up of 33,000. And I'm happy to hear that, because I want to make sure that park rangers are fully equipped and staffed. Because they're the folks I see visiting all the parks. Unfortunately, there's not that many of them, but the sooner there are, then maybe we can intercept some of the riots that goes on in the parks. Because GPD can't respond fast enough, and if they don't have enough park rangers, everybody's short. So I just need you to please explain the $132,000 short, less.
Well, the $132,000 that's less actually is the rapid response team that we actually recruited, and also the equipment that we purchased. We purchased around 6 scutters, 2 riding mowers, and blowers, and everything to maintain the park. So those we already have on board, and we don't really have anything to purchase as far as equipment
For now?
for now.
Okay, so that's why you reduced down to 32?
That's why it went down.
Oh, okay, but how about the pool and beach? The pool and beach part there says 1,612, pool and beach. I'm concerned because there's some pools that still needs to be repaired. We got the Agustin pool, and I don't know where they're at right now, but I'm just curious. You got only $1,000. I'm just trying to understand, maybe you got all the chemicals you need, I guess, or the contract's already awarded for the beaches?
Not really.
It's only $1,600.
Pool and beach, which is $1,600. That's just, I guess, we actually purchased some equipment
Okay.
for them also. As far as the lifeguards, we purchased equipment also for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I noticed that the SHPO, I guess we'll get to SHPO after we're finished with everybody else. We'll get back to Mr. Lahan on that part. But we got down there, you got limited gaming, 103. Does that mean then there's less money coming in? That's
Yes.
why there's less?
That's why
Okay.
that's 103.
All right. I'd ask Senator Nelson, do you have any questions at this point, or you like to go? Okay, you'll be last with Senator Schultz. Madam Speaker, do you have any questions for the panel?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, and the work that you've outlined is very exciting, and of course, I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see that the restrooms have been repaired, and now, so if I understand correctly, you're telling us that you've finalized the maintenance contract. Now we will have people at these parks so you can open the restrooms and ensure that they don't get damaged. What will those hours be? Is that a limited hours, and then it might get damaged overnight, something like that?
Yeah, I'll get you the hours. As far as each park has their own hours.
Okay.
Yeah. IPAW Matapang, you're usually open at 6 o'clock in the morning and then end at 6 in the evening. But GVB actually has been asking me to see if I can just maintain those individuals past the 6 o'clock, 6
Yes.
p.m., so that, at least it'll be safe for if any tourists or whatever comes after 6 p.m. Because all the parks that we have close at 6.
Yeah, the sunrise is 5:30 now, or earlier.
Yeah.
And
Well,
when the beaches are locked, yeah, even at 6 p.m. is kind of early, I think, but.
Yeah, and then, some of them are asking to open up early.
Yeah.
So, the VSOs that are maintaining the security there, they're the ones that we call to make sure.
So there are certain beaches that have VSO,
Yes.
visitor safety officers
Right.
that are, when they're there, they're in charge of making sure no
Yes.
one's vandalizing, and we can
Correct.
open the parks early.
Correct.
Is that for all the parks?
No,
or?
no, ma'am. It's only for IPAW and Matapang.
Okay.
Yeah, those, and of course the other parks are, the park rangers are.
All right, so which parks are the maintenance officers going to be at? Your maintenance contract going to service?
They're all 16 parks.
Okay.
16 restrooms. So I mean, actually, all the
Yes.
parks. The IPO has two restrooms
That's
there.
great.
And then of course Matapang.
Yeah.
And you got all the other, like Inarahan, Agate,
Right.
Ipan, and.
Some of
Palafu.
these, like you said, have been open, some not.
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
So that's good. I'm
They've
looking
been
forward.
vandalized, especially Ipan.
I hope those can be
And
open.
so, yeah, we're going to have to actually get the contractor to repair that, which is part of the contract that they go in, do an assessment, and also lock it up with, combination lock where they can open it, and even the park personnel can open it.
You've also outlined over 15 parks that have CCTV,
Yes, ma'am.
solar powered,
Yes, ma'am.
and those are currently in place?
They're not in place, actually. They're down at GSA for bidding.
Oh, so
Yeah,
they're
and
up
that,
for bid.
and
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, you
and of
said.
course, that's why we need the additional park rangers, because it's going to be monitored at our office in Paseo.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is it effective? The ones that you have been using, do you find them to be effective?
Well, we haven't, actually, I don't know if the park rangers have indicated anything that the cameras were being used. Good.
The question is, are the CCTVs effective in preventing
Ma'am, we
vandalism?
currently don't have any cameras up.
None?
None.
Oh, okay. So what are these pictures of the examples?
Those are proposals that,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And,
All right.
and if you see the listing, those
Yes.
are where we're going to put those cameras.
Okay, great. I think the public will be very happy to see this listing.
Definitely.
I would suggest you give it to the media. Yeah, that's great.
So
And I
I'll-
hope, so someone will be, one of the park rangers is going to be monitoring the TVs?
Yeah.
Is that how that's going to work?
It'll serve as a, I guess wait, excuse me, I'm so nervous right now. Force multiplier. We don't have to patrol as far. We could just see it as it, instead of driving all the way down to Iran, we could just observe the TV or the cameras. Sorry.
Okay, and then back to the officers, Mr. Director. You said you are currently in the recruiting process for 6, almost finalized, I think, and that will make a total of 8.
8.
But did you say that you're supposed to have 20?
Well, no, that was 20 that were qualified
Oh.
by
But how many
DOA.
positions? How many positions
Then we
available?
had, out of the 20, there was 9 that was qualified for.
But if you could hire, how many positions are you
We're
able?
supposed to hire 6 park rangers.
Just 6
besides
more.
the
So a
2
total of 8 is the plan?
total of 10.
10?
10.
Oh, 10. So you need to hire 2 more?
We need to hire 6,
Yes.
and then we already have 2 that's going to be on board,
Oh, I see.
and then the 2 supervisors here. So that's 10.
So you will have a total of 10?
Yes.
How's that working?
Well, hopefully.
10, we can probably stretch our operation hours into, the problematic times. Like, could do some nights and early hour operations and focus on the key problematic areas, like especially skate park, which you guys are aware of. The
Ski
issues
park?
with skate park,
Skate park,
Derecho
yes,
skate park.
yes.
And also, of course, you guys are aware of the recent incidents over in Paseo. So, we'd have to focus our enforcement there as well.
Have you been able to adequately monitor the preserves?
That's the primary mandate of conservation. So
Department of Ag?
yes,
I
yes,
see.
yeah. But we assist them when we can, but we got our hands full on this side of the house. So,
All right. Is the maintenance contract, Mr. Director, different than the contract for picking up the trash? This is maintenance for the bathrooms, right?
Yes, this is just
And you
the
have a
maintenance
separate-
of the 16 restrooms that was
Okay.
renovated.
Yeah, so I've seen the trucks at the beaches picking up the trash. That's a separate contract.
Some of those are our guys, they're the ones that are picking
Okay,
up the trash.
in-house.
At EPO, it's it's a contractor that's picking up the trash along the beach. But for EPO and Matapang and all the other parks, we're the ones picking up the trash.
Okay, so GVB takes care of VSOs for the 2 parks,
That's correct.
just the 2 parks. And they don't do the maintenance or any other of the costs.
No, sometimes they go there and make sure that, everything is safe. Like, for instance, they sometimes go there for lifeguard, augment the lifeguards that are there at the 2 parks. So that's what they, just to make things safe over the.
All right, and your current plan or proposal for FY23 is to have lifeguards only at Matapang and Ipao?
No, ma'am, because, like I said, the pools are being renovated, the Dededo pool is going to be renovated, we need manpower there. We cannot afford to open that up without a lifeguard.
Okay,
So, yeah, the recruitment will be for that purpose, and,
so that's part of your plan?
yeah,
This-
and we'll
So your
testify
budget will
that.
cover that?
Yes,
And it covers, or you've already taken care of the maintenance, or the repair for the Dededo pool contract?
yes.
That's taken care of, and what about the Haga'hågan pool?
the Agustin pool right now is under DPW's, they're actually tasked to get an engineering firm to see if they can resurrect the Aga'hågan pool and get it back to its original condition. So that's with DPW's jurisdiction right now.
All right. All right, well, I want to thank you for all your work. I know we've been going to some groundbreakings, and there have been a lot of announcements, and so I'm really looking forward to, for me, yeah, quality of life for the people of Guam. These parks are very important. If we can get, you know, feel safe there, if they can access them early and a little bit later, it's because, you know, the fishermen want to go there. We've got a lot of people into recreation, and I think we should encourage that and make it as easy for them as possible. And of course, the restrooms, that's a big thing, not just for, you know, the locals, but the visitors as well. So the restrooms are a big, big thing. So thank you for all your work in these regards. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. One simple question before I ask Senator Tello to ask questions. Have you considered some of the vendors that are out there that want to adopt the park? I mean, literally take over the park and do what they need to do to upgrade it?
Yes,
And
sir.
pay it all out, but out of their own funds, and promote it themselves and charge for people to come by? I mean, I was just curious, because I know the last term it was attempted, but it failed, so I'm just curious, has that crossed
The vendors,
the parks, has it crossed your desk to be considered? Or no?
Yes, there's a lot of interest in adopting the parks. A lot of them are actually vendors also that want to, you know, go and show their products in the parks. East Aga'hågan, which you notice right after for Alupang Hotel, we actually cleaned that area up, and for every weekend, it's always practically used by people on the beach, because it's really a nice beach area, which was not even thought of until we started to clean it up, and so now it's being utilized. But then we have vendors that are at the Paseo. You know, they have this Saturday food truck. They're there. We also have vendors that are at West Aga'hågan. So, and also the vendors that are up at Two Lovers Point. Those are all our vendors. We have the mayor of Inaran that wants to adopt Inaran pool. You know, so that was already mentioned. So we'll see. You know, if it.
All right, I just wanted to
But yes,
inquire.
we do have, we encourage them to come in and adopt parks.
Okay, many of the food truck owners have approached me, and I said, talk to the Parks and Rec.
Yeah,
and let's see
they're
what
there
happens."
now
All right.
on Saturdays.
Okay, thank you. Senator Tello, do you have any questions for the panel?
Yes, I do, and thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning to my colleagues, and most especially good morning to Parks and Rec, and thank you so much for all the hard work. I really appreciate this presentation that you provided us. I'll go through it, you know, and compare it with the other spreadsheet we have here, you know, to find. But a lot of the questions were asked and answered. However, going into just want to talk about the park rangers. You said there's 10. I just want to verify and make sure that this budget that you provided us here will cover all 10 park rangers, right? So we're not going to, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That's for sure. Okay, nothing. And it also includes their salary increase as well?
Yes, ma'am. All the increase, and also we have already completed all the purchasing of their equipment and their supplies and equipment. They're ready. You know, once they come in, they have their whole complete set, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
What about training, Mr. Director? Is there anything that they do for that they need for training
I'll have the park.
after they become rangers? I mean, it's just like a continue education and stuff.
Yes, they would have to do some firearms training, and that also requires ammunition and, you know, time with other law enforcement agencies, and also I believe first aid CPR as well is required by DOA. So yeah, that's part of the initial training that we require.
And that's all incorporated in the budget, Mr. Director?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. It's important that, I know they keep us safe, but we want to keep them safe as well too when they do their job. So Appreciate that. Also, in the ARP funding, you received from the governor and the ARP about $2.5 million. Currently, right now, you still have a balance of $1,999,030 left in this balance. And how do you plan to spend this funding? And do you have a list of report on what this is going to be used for?
Yes, yes, ma'am. The ARP funds, actually, we have about maybe 14 contracts right now at DPW, just waiting for POs, and those are all renovations and beautification projects around the island. We're going to start cleaning up UMADAC. You know, the pavilions there have all been ignored for a long time, so we're going to be water blasting and painting those and repairing all the benches and tables that are all cracked. Also, I'm trying to include the EPAN Beach Park, which is entirely dire need of renovation, and the Senator San Agustin can testify on that because he's been on my heels for a long time about the EPAN. So yes, all of those ARP funds, right now the total of the 14 contracts is probably going to be about $500,000. But then we still, like I said, we still have more funding, and those are all for renovation projects.
Could you also provide that information to
Yes,
the
ma'am.
chair? And who makes a decision on what would be repaired or upgraded with this ARP funding? Is it you or the governor?
It's me actually, and you know, I go out and do the assessment on all the what is needed to be repaired, especially like
What's desperately needed, right?
An example is
and a safety issue.
Very much. The example is the sports complex. That building is just completely ignored, you know, so we want to get it looking bright, and, you know, so people can notice it, because right now it's just, you know, I won't even, you know, look at it when I drive by, because it's just, you know.
This is the one in Dedido, the sports
That's one in
complex,
Dedido
yeah.
complex, yeah. That needs to be painted. There's air conditioning. There's not even an air conditioner inside that building.
And Parks and Recs is responsible for the upkeep of this building?
Yes, our guys are up there. Will, you go ahead, Will.
Oh, yes, and please introduce yourself and your position.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Just bring it closer, a little bit closer.
Good morning, everyone. Senators, thank you for your time. I'm William Sinnett, Recreational Administrator for DPR. So I'm in charge of all the lifeguards, the sports complex, everything up there, and also work with the director with Paseo and Guerrero Field. As far as the complex, we have 3 employees that are up there, and they try to maintain the facility as far as bush cutting, taking care of the restrooms, and also staffing for activities that take place, you know, at night and on the weekends. So those 3 handle that whole facility, which we're shorthanded. You know, we have to go out there, bush cut ourselves, riding lawnmowers, take care of 4 fields, the open soccer area. Some people are adopting different spots, so they kind of help us out with bush cutting. And we just got to make deals with other people that use the facility with baseball fields, you know, kind of in-kind trade. You take care of this field and you could use it on the weekend. But we do need more staff if we want to have more activities during summer and Christmas break. And to what the director said, the facility does need a lot of work. The roof is leaking. If you know, there's 10 windows around the side. About 4 of them are ready to collapse. And if they do, and if someone's there, they'll get really injured, you know, probably die if those windows could fall on someone. So those need to be addressed right away. And also the air conditioning, so if we could get that done.
Because it's Parks and Rec's responsibility to maintain this building, do you have in a budget that you put aside every year for things like this, like, you know, any kind of leakage or repair of windows or the painting that's needed. I mean, that's one thing the government lacks, is to set aside funding for maintenance, to maintain the building. I mean, the longer you wait for a building to, you know, fall apart, the more expensive it is to revitalize it. And I think that's one of the issues. So, Mr. Director, have you set aside a budget for the sports center as well as other buildings that are required for you to maintain as a maintenance budget, yearly maintenance budget?
Actually, ma'am, with the manpower that we have, you know, having a budget for maintenance is really not what I'm looking at right now, because the fastest way we can do maintenance is to get a contractor to fix it. You know, our guys cannot go up there and fix a roof. So, you know, having money to set aside for maintenance, definitely we need to do that, but in reality, the maintenance guys, it's not enough manpower to get those maintenance people to
I understand,
work on
Mr. Director, but
contracting it out will be...
Of course, and I think even in most buildings, you know, people who run the facilities are not, you know, contractors, so you have to call for someone. I think this is one of the biggest issues that we're facing. It's not just the fact that you're not setting aside money for this maintenance of these buildings or these facilities, but the part is you're closing them down because they can't be used by the public, because something is broken or something hasn't been maintained. And that's the biggest issue. We have these parks, we have these facilities for our public to enjoy. But if they're being closed down for, you know, months or years at a time because it can't be maintained, that's an issue. So, Mr. Director, along with the AERP funding that you're going to give us on showing us where you're going to use this money, which you've only told us about $500,000 right now, may I suggest that in your budget you also put in place funding for maintenance of these buildings on a yearly basis, so that we can keep these facilities open year-round. And if any time there's a closure of the facilities, it's just for, what, a week to repair windows or paint the building or something like this. So I greatly appreciate if you put that in your budget. I mean, I was shocked to see that it's lower than FY22. When not all, I mean, I understand you have DOI money and you're trying to work on this, but we have to think of the future. And to maintain, and now's the time. There's some funding in the ARP, we can get these updated by next year, or even if you can even add in a revision, Mr. Chair, you know, to their budget, to at least provide some funding for the sports facility in Dept, and let's get that up and running. But most especially, let's make it safe for those who, you know, participate and take part in these activities. We don't want the window, like you said, William, to fall down on someone and hurt somebody. It's the last thing we want to do. So let's be proactive instead of reactive on these issues. Also, speaking, you have, and I believe an OPA did a report in 2018 with an MOU with the Guam Football Association. And they reported there was no MOU between Parks and Rec and GFA. So has that yet been resolved? Is there an MOU with an understanding that the Dept Northern Complex is also intended to be used for the public and not just GFA Association, but it's actually in the legislation for that intent? So the MOU, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not sure if it's still in place, or have you ever got an MOU between them?
Yes, ma'am. When that thing was brought up, we actually approached the Football Federation, and there is now an MOU
in place
with Parks and Rec. And
okay.
Yes, of course, yeah, they're not just supposed to be for GFS usage, it's also supposed to be for the public. So
Absolutely.
They understand that now. And
okay, so that was the intent at the very
another
beginning.
thing is they're not even supposed to be charging anything for the public. So that's already under that MOU.
Okay, thank you. My office is going to be asking for a copy of that MOU. Okay,
sure, yes,
thank
ma'am.
you so much, Mr. Director, for following through with that, because there are concerns out there that they're not allowed to use this facility, and that's not the case. That wasn't the intent. So that's good to hear. Our oversight chair talked about adopt a park, and I'm glad you brought that. That was the other one is, what is the status of the Haga'hågan Stadium?
The pool, again?
No, the one, the baseball stadium.
Oh, the baseball stadium?
Yeah, what's the status on that? Yeah.
Is there,
Is there any issues with that, repairs that need to be, is that under your purview? I mean.
yes, the stadium is under Parks and Rec, but
Yeah.
it's with an MOU with Guam Baseball Federation.
Okay, that's still in place, the
Yes, that's
MOU?
still in place.
So there's no, they're keeping that updated and keeping it,
Yes, yes,
Intact?
it's the Guam Baseball Federation is always on top of that, since we have continuing baseball games there. So yeah, they're there, and the maintenance of the Paseo Stadium is pretty much taken care of. And some of those maintenance issue also is part of the contract on the ARP that's supposed to repair some rusted out fence and all that. So that's.
okay, that's good to hear. Thank you so much. Did you tell us when it's anticipated for the Dedito pool to be up and running? What's the date on that, William?
The scheduled goal date is Friday, July 29th.
When?
Friday, July 29th.
It'll be open and.
That's the goal date that we're aiming for with working with JJ Global. Just as of last week, they got the lights inside the pool to work. They got an electrician. Something that they still need to order off island. That's outstanding is the facility lights on the top. There's 19 of those that need to be ordered. But as far as everything else, the silica sand is ready to be installed. The main pump they ordered, ready to be installed. The two smaller ones currently work. The only thing that might be a delay is their pool technician recently is not working there anymore. And then the point of contact, there's just been a turnover. So I met the new point of contact over there 2 weeks ago, and they seem to be on top of it now. And then just one last thing regarding, we have 6 current lifeguards working. They're all down at Ipaw and Matapang. So if this pool does open, we're gonna need more lifeguards to operate the pool.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah,
good to hear.
once the
Yeah.
Dedo pool opens, we're gonna need more lifeguard depending on how many hours we wanna operate.
And we're assured, Director, that the budget covers those, right? You mentioned earlier. Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, William, for that. As well, you talked about the cameras that have yet to be up. I mean, this has been going on for years now, trying to get that. I mean, it's not only you. GFD GPD has yet to get theirs all up, and we provided them funding for it. So I have yet to see them up as well. My concern is, Mr. Director, once they're up, where is the monitors going to be held? And have you spoken with, I mean, if you're already in process right now for bid, have you also spoke to providers like Docomo, IT&E for that Wi-Fi access?
What
And where would the monitors be
the
located?
monitors will be down at Paseo Stadium where the
Okay.
park rangers offices are. So they'll be monitored there.
Have you spoken with the providers like Docomo
Well,
to get Wi-Fi access?
We haven't spoken to the providers since we're still under the bid process.
Okay, the bid is probably for the cameras, et cetera, like that, but you need to also speak with the providers.
The Wi-Fi, yes, definitely we'll get
Yes.
together with them because we do have Wi-Fi for Paseo Stadium.
Right, yeah, but some of the areas, the other parks, you know, you need Wi-Fi. So that's going to be kind of difficult. I know there's Wi-Fi down at the Paseo. They have it there because they do have some cameras there, but some of the other parks are going to require some kind of Wi-Fi in order to monitor this. So may I suggest you start looking into the providers for these Wi-Fi cameras
Yes.
that are going to be needed. Was there any carryover in FY21?
On our budget?
Yeah. Did you carry over any funding from FY21?
None.
Did you have any carryover in FY20?
Not that I
None
know
at
of.
all? Okay. So you're using every penny. And the last thing, let's talk about the cemetery. What's the status on the cemeteries that you oversee on the expansion of the one up in the Mid-Sill?
Okay, the Tiwak Cemetery, which is Vicente Lempiaco, we do have burials there for the next, up to the end of the year.
How many years?
At the end of the year,
Oh, the end of the year.
we send letters to BSP and land management to see if they can get us a new location for a cemetery. And they're working on it right now. And hopefully that we can get one down at the south area. So that's being worked on right now. As soon as we get the information as to where it's going to be located, then we'll start the process of, working on getting that cemetery up to provide the burials. But right now, we still have up to the end of the year. We're actually having Public Works remove some of the areas, additional areas
Clearing?
up there. Yeah, clearing.
This is up in Nimitsil, correct?
Yes,
The one-
ma'am.
So you're clearing that back area there?
That back area there is for green waste. They're dumping their green waste there. That's with the mayor of PD. But the
But
location,
who owns that property where that green waste is being dumped?
it's still, actually, it's not really with, is that with Parks and Rec? No,
It's not even
It's
you-
not even with Parks and Rec, and that's why the mayor is responsible for that area there.
So you only have enough for the end of the year, you think, as far as so you're estimating,
We just did a survey up there the other week, last week, and John here, my property control guy, did the survey.
John, yeah, go ahead. Just introduce yourself and your position. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. My name is John Glenn Tidegby, Property Control Officer for the department. So to answer your question, Senator, what was that? Can you repeat the question again?
Officer,
Can you repeat the question?
can you move it?
Additional,
Okay.
additional.
With as far as the cemetery, I mean, I was hearing from individuals that there's not a whole lot left over there, that it's going to go full to capacity, and if there is some options to expand it in I guess, getting some of the land that's nearby, that is not government land, but to acquire some of the property nearby. So can you give us an update on that
Okay, so-
cemetery? That's the only public cemetery we have, so, yeah. And just go ahead and move the mic closer so we can hear you. Sorry, the echo in here is really bad, especially for me.
Okay, so like the director said, we have till the end of the year, roughly to December. We have about maybe like 70 ground burials total left for adults. So the plan is, as you come in the entrance on your right, there's that open area there where the topsoils are. We're going to remove that and try to shift the infant gravesite up to that area, which can probably accommodate maybe 200 to 3 for infant site. And then you utilize the existing infant grave in the bottom for additional adult gravesite.
Okay. But still, you'll be full by the end of the year, right?
We're looking within that area there, we're looking about maybe 150 more to bury there in that site.
But yet, even with the 150, are you still anticipating that this area will be full and no longer can be used?
It'll be full for the adults, but we still have for infant
Yeah.
burials.
So,
We
Okay.
rarely have, a lot of infants coming our way,
Right.
mostly adults.
okay, right, and 150 only. Have you budgeted for is this expansion or moving of what you're trying to do to utilize as much space as you can? Have you budgeted for that?
No, ma'am. We're just waiting for the what do you call that? The Bureau of Statistics and Plans and also land management to identify a land that that will be for a new cemetery, but that's under the purview of the governor and lieutenant governor. They tasked the two agencies to go out and get a location.
Okay, well, let's not wait till the very last minute, a month before we have no more space. I mean, this is something that should be addressed right away. This is only 6 months away. Go
Yes,
ahead,
ma'am.
Mr. Tidegby.
To retract from that, The director had addressed the issue to Department of Public Works, also requesting for their assistance
Okay,
in providing the backhoe service, dump truck, and to clear the
to clear the area?
Yes.
Okay, so there would be no cost incurred by you guys. Okay, that's good to hear. But still, you know, this is our only public, you know, cemetery. It's going to be filled by the end of this year, so we need to find another location, okay?
Yes, ma'am, we do have an MOU with Public Works
Okay.
for them to assist us in any burials and the usage of their backhoe and personnel. So that's, if there is a new cemetery, then they'll be assisting us in clearing and grubbing and, you know, getting the cemetery ready.
Okay. Well, I appreciate all your answers and looking forward to that information that requested to the Oversight Chair so he can distribute it to us so we can review that. And definitely, you need to put in your budget funding for maintenance on these facilities, okay? Every year, you know, if you set aside money, then the closure of these to repair it won't be so long. Not like the pool, for instance. Okay, well, thank you again, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Tello. Yes, and I concur with that. I fully support that. The maintenance plan needs to be in place, not only for your parks, but also the equipment with the rangers. I just hate to see the rangers going down the road and I have to pull over and help them pull their vehicle. No, 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 no. Just get your vehicle right. And you pull me, not me pull you, would be safer. But moving along, Senator Duenas, do you have any questions for the panel, sir?
Sidus Masi, Mr. Chairman, and just wanted to recognize Mr. Alcantara and your team. Thank you for being here, and I have been attending a number of the groundbreakings, and it's really nice to see the renovations for the gyms and the villages. Nice to see that we're going from the Lone Ranger to Team Rangers, and so that's really welcome news. I know many of us have been asking your team for that, and it looks like there's progress there, and I want to thank you too for the work that you've been able to maintain, but certainly this is going to be welcome news to the community in terms of more safety and security, particularly in these times. A lot of the detail was asked, so I just wanted to come back to the issue with regard to Dedido, the Dedido Gymnasium in the park. So, Mr. Sinet, is there a scope of work that's been established and a bid preparation for that? Because
Yes,
it sounds like, Mr. Contra, what you're going to do with that is use the your ARP balance for that. Is that correct?
Where we have our, the funding is under a limited gaming fund, so
Okay.
it's not under ARP. But if there's additional work that needs to be done, like, you know, the restrooms or whatever, then that's under ARP.
Okay. So is the scope of work already established for the, because you talked about the windows and that sounds pretty dangerous.
Yes, the scope of work has already been done for the windows to be repaired. There was a bid that went out. I think there was it's been, I don't know if it's been awarded yet, but I know the bids have gone out for the windows, the bathroom, the painting of the gym, and also for the 3 baseball fields up there that needs fencing to be replaced. I know there was a bid that went out for those 3. As far as it being awarded, I'm not too sure. That's for the director.
Okay, that's good to hear. It's underway, so I think that just wanted to be a little bit more clear with that, but that sounds like it's really on its way. So going back to the Ganya pool too, I know at one point there was a discussion, there was some work maybe with VITA to try to identify some investment, some funding to redo that. Is that still underway? I know you mentioned Public Works is doing an evaluation, but is that
Yes,
still underway?
yes, sir. Senator, the Public Works was tasked to get an engineering firm to see if they can, you know, resurrect or renovate the pool and see, you know, how much it's going to cost. So that was already just under negotiation, and they're supposed to have the negotiation done last Friday with an engineer firm from Guam, which is the Anoment or engineering firm from Tamuning. So that's in the works right now. So once we get this result from that, then it's just a matter of time for, you know, to identify funding issue on that.
And finally, I think I've read in the media or seen in the media that the Dedido is currently on track to open maybe sometime this summer, the Dedido pool?
Yeah, the Dept pool actually was supposed to open it up July 29. Originally it was April, but because of the shipment of materials, you know, like the silica sand and some of the pump items. So yeah, it's scheduled now for July 29.
Great. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. This looks like a very reasonable proposal that's been put forward, particularly with making sure that we can get our staff levels on rangers and other stuff proposed. So I thank you for the opportunity to pose a few questions. Jesus Masi.
Thank you, Senator Duenas. Senator Brown, do you have any questions for the panel? Ma'am.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. You know, I do have to say, after attending the budget hearings for this year, your budget's refreshing, even though I understand you're not probably getting all that you need to do that you do. But I'm actually going to compliment you because you show a little more fiscal responsibility than many of the others that have come before us that have asked for billions of dollars beyond their existing budget. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the listing that you provided and the status with regards to where our existing parks are. And what I'm seeing, which I'm very happy to see, and I understand you've had so much a lack of resources because Parks and Rec is one of those departments in the government of Guam that went from like almost 400 strong to barely 50, barely 44 now I see in your existing staffing pattern, and yet your mandate has not decreased. But I'm also sensing a greater sense of ownership within your department, and I think that's a very good thing because that's where you have your employees who have a greater sense of connection with their department. They work a little harder and have a greater sense of communication and working together with each other. So I'm looking forward to the increase with your park rangers. I appreciate the two of you that have stood in there and hung in there, so to speak, and looking forward to the expansion of your division and the work that you're doing, because obviously we're seeing, you know, I don't know what it is. I don't know if our community, we're losing that sense of community ownership and responsibility because we're seeing some of our residents that are being irresponsible and continue to be irresponsible. That incident at the skate park earlier this year was very unsettling. And then also just to recently hear of the activities going on down here at the Paseo and the fact that we're going to have to regulate the hours even more just because people are choosing to be irresponsible. I don't know what it is. I really don't understand, and yet there's an expectation somehow the government's supposed to deal with all the social ills that are out there. So I really appreciate the work, Director Alcantara, that you and your people are doing. I know you're challenged. I wanted to ask, when I was looking at the current status of your parks, I wasn't aware until I looked at it. I'm sure it may have been announced publicly, but that Tengisan, that the lease from the Navy had expired and it's no longer, is it no longer available now for public use? I remember going down there not too long ago and seeing it overgrown. So is that the reason?
Yes, ma'am. And you know, I was just waiting for the front office to let us know if we're going to take over that Tengisan Park, and so we can start working on it.
I see. So is there active engagement to try to see if that land can be transferred for that purpose to continue to maintain as a park? Or?
Yes, ma'am. And I've been told by the Lieutenant Governor also that that park is going to be ours pretty soon.
Okay.
So
I was just
aware
surprised
that,
when we went down there and it was overgrown. We were just kind of surprised what happened. Okay, so I see that there was a lease agreement and that has since expired.
Yeah, it expired.
I know you did elaborate with regards to the pool, and we're certainly looking forward to the feedback, because gosh, the pool's almost been out of commission for close to 4 years at Hagåtña. I hope it can be resurrected. I hope they can do some engineering design that would make it usable. I'd hate to see all of that go to waste, even though I understand the structure certainly has been there since the early 70s. Are you hopeful that it can be salvaged and put back in operation?
Well, yes. The engineers have indicated that it's workable. So we'll see what the outcome of that engineering firm that they hired, and we'll go forward on that one.
No, we're hopeful. I mean, it doesn't seem the same. I mean, you have the tennis courts there, but without the pool, it just doesn't have the same flavor. So, and I know there are a lot of swim teams and members of our community, including myself, that certainly would love to see that. The feedback, if they're able to engineer it and stabilize it, for us to be able to use it. I know the issue was brought up with regards to the cemetery in Nimitz Hill. Have any other options been looked at to build crypts up at Nimitz Hill? I mean, I know there are all ground burials there, and that's right now the most cost efficient. But of course, as time has gone on, the land space is becoming, less and less available in that area.
No, ma'am, there's actually not enough room. Although we were given land up at Paget, but it's actually, like you said, an area where we can build cribs. Now, building the crib is kind of like more expensive than the rec burial. The rec burial will charge $500, and then
about
on the crib is
$500, yeah.
about 8,000. Yeah, about 8,000. So it's just a matter of the cost. So the rec burial on the ground is more.
No, I understand. It's just
affordable.
also land is, land for this purpose is also becoming, costly as well. I mean, there's not an endless supply. And at some point, I'm sure there's going to be, changes in probably how we deal with our burial practices just because of that. I understand the price aspect. And then I know that issue recently came up publicly about people again, we're dumbfounded by it, but, irresponsible people in the community have no respect, and certainly no respect for the burials and families that are there. How have you been able to address to cut that? Are you putting anything in place to, make it not as easy for them to access to go and dump, or?
Yes, ma'am. We actually put up a sign there, to inform them that that the cemetery is open from 8 to 4. Okay, so that, and then we do have a chain that locks the entrance. But for the cleaning of the cemetery, we do have collaboration with the Bureau of Statistics and Plan, the PD Mayor's office, and the National Guard to do a massive cleanup of the cemetery this Saturday, starting at 9 o'clock in the morning. So hopefully we can clean everything out of there, because there's a lot of trash, a lot of dumping.
I know, and it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that has happened in our community.
We'll address that.
How about the regulating of what can be built? Because I know a year ago that became an issue about families coming in and building structures above the burials, and I understand in some other areas it's a very acceptable practice, but you had restrictions, and yet those restrictions are not being followed, and then we heard, we're going to leave it there, I assume, to the next typhoon, sad to say, and then how are we going to ensure compliance with regards to what can be placed there? Because as time goes on, it makes maintenance a lot harder.
Yes, ma'am. We did remove the sign there that they said that they couldn't read. So the sign now is new, it's readable. And so even building structures there are no longer allowed. So there's no more building of structures.
And is that also included in the agreement for the burials when they sign to have a burial there?
Yes, ma'am.
They're notified at the time what the restrictions are. And understandable, part of it is just a maintenance and safety issue.
Yes, ma'am, and we do have a list of the burials that's there, and we do have contact people, contact numbers to get to those individuals that are just, leaving their stuff there. So yeah, we do, and we do have 2 individuals that are assigned up there that does the burial and control of the cemetery.
Now that we're slowly starting to see our visitors come back to the island, most of them now, of course, are Korean tourists, but what are your hours for the restroom facilities? Because we have some in the past you go to and they're locked. They're just locked in the middle of the day, and I know it's a challenge again because people come in and they, sometimes they destroy or they try and steal some. I remember, they're putting new fixtures and a couple days later they're gone.
Yes, like I said, we just finally got our contract with the maintenance contract of the restrooms, and of course the restrooms are open from 6 in the morning until 6 in the evening.
Okay, so that's your standard time.
So yeah, the time where the tourists
So are these assigned to private contractors that are maintaining these locations?
Yes, ma'am. There's a private contractor, Guam Cleaning Masters, that's responsible for all the 16 restrooms.
And do they have anybody there during the day that will be checking and keeping an eye on things?
That's in the contract. They're supposed to maintain and have somebody stationed it.
Because I really think having that, gosh, that will make such a big difference, even for our local residents to go and visit our sites around the island. That would make such a big difference. Just for safety, comfort, and then knowing that the facilities are maintained and clean really would make a big difference.
Yes, this was working when, before when we had this contractor. because he does station individuals in all the restrooms. And
Okay.
so, yeah, that's going to happen again.
Well, that is a big improvement. I did want to ask, because we had that incident that happened earlier this year at our Bridge Park here in Hagåtña. And I did talk to Joe Kanata. I know he spoke to you also. And is that something that you guys are scheduling or planning with your employees to have an orientation with regards to maintenance or working around or on historic properties, so we make sure they're not contributing to any possible degradation, and make sure we don't drive our trucks, our F-150s up on top of the bridge? Because my goodness, if that bridge collapses, I mean, can you imagine the cost of even rebuilding? It would be in the millions. And I don't think anyone would be happy to see that happen.
Yes, ma'am, and that's a new employee that just came in. So, but yes, definitely, we'll, because it's right across my office.
Sure.
I always look at it, and of course, when we clean it up, now it looks like there's a bridge there.
Yes, and I have to commend, yes, they did a good job cleaning. They just got to make sure they drive the official truck, I'll tell you. They probably thought I was a crazy woman, but I was like, I couldn't quite articulate my words, and I don't know if I can even say them on the microphone what I said, because I was just so taken aback.
Yeah, and of course, that...
Then to see a government license plate, that even incensed me more,
That bridge was, is also adopted by one of the, it's under, the Mermaid Bridge. Community First.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
Well, good. I took care of that bridge for 12 years.
Yeah, before you.
We bush cut and mowed twice a month, so I have a personal connection to it,
It's Guam Community First.
It's like a 12-year marriage to the park.
And then, if you feel like there's any need for us to go back there and start cleaning again, we'll do it for you.
No problem. I just think, and plus just for informational awareness, I mean, the Historic Preservation just a couple of weeks ago held a conference, which was a very, even though we're here, we learned so much from it, even those of us that are here. And I know that Mr. Kanata said, I guess they hold it every 2 years. I would hope maybe the next time, even just for awareness. I know, Patrick, you were there and participating with that event. It would be a wonderful opportunity to get your people that, work on a regular basis with these historical sites. They would have more enlightenment and awareness, and I'm sure greater appreciation for our parks. And I hope there's a greater opportunity. But I'm sure, as Mr. Kanata said, he'd be happy to work with you to do some orientation with your staff. So I see the positive things. In the interim, can anything be done to put any type of barrier that aesthetically doesn't take away from the beauty of the bridge, but to keep any type of vehicle? Because that happened once before with a private vehicle. They just zoomed and took their Jeep, and I couldn't try. I wasn't fast enough to track them down. I don't have any type of that maneuvering driving. Because God help me if I had caught up with them. I don't know what I would have done.
Yes.
It's just common sense. I'm dumbfounded, but it happens.
Yes. Yeah, we'll take care of that.
Or landscaping or something that can be put there just to prohibit anyone from driving.
Right, from driving us to that bridge, yes. Yes, ma'am.
But other than that, Mr. Alcantara, you're very responsive. I don't call you every day, but I appreciate you answering the call when I did call you. And I know there's still a lot of work to do and a lot of demands put on your shoulders, but you're certainly working through it very well, and certainly maintain your cool. That's nice. I know it's hard sometimes when you're dealing with people that are always upset or frustrated, but I like seeing the improvements that are happening, and definitely looking forward to the expansion of your park rangers, because that's I'm not for the continued increase of government and government expenditure and the size of continuing to grow government, but I think there are critical areas in our government where we do need that support, and especially when there's direct community interface. I want to see a greater presence with that, and I think adding on for your park rangers to do that is a good thing. And then also, which has been a problem with Department of Agriculture, with their conservation officers, is addressing their opportunity for advancement, because we have some you're very specialized in the work that you do. You know the parks, you know the people, you know the issues that are going out there, and I'd hate to see you lose your officers because they don't have any opportunity to advance in their positions and move up. I mean, I'd love them to retire in that capacity and be able to groom the next up and coming. So I think that's something we need to look at for you, and also because it's always been an issue for conservation. We've had guys there for 20 plus years and they're still sitting in the same position without an incentive, and then they're looking at other law enforcement and going, man, I mean, I got a bill, I got a mortgage to pay and a family to take care of, and maybe not that they don't love what they do, but it's just a practical reality. And in those areas, I'd like to see your people have that opportunity to continue to stay on and grow. And I have a history within that position, because I think having those specialized abilities in those areas are very important. And I don't want them to be looked at as, you know, they're second or third tier down from anybody else in law enforcement. You know, you look at the marshals and you go, wow, they get, and we're, you know, doesn't make a lot of sense in terms of equity for the quality of work that's being done and the regular interaction they have to deal with sometimes less than desirable people in our community, where they have to, you know, and this is a nice way of putting it, right? Where you have to go out there and they're drunk or whatever, and you're trying to get them to comply and not be a public nuisance. So, you know, that now that you're getting your numbers and the legislature has increased the funding for that, it's like, let's maintain it so we don't see it like it did before. It was there and very present, and then it went down again, and then we almost had nobody. And now you got just 2, and then you can build upon that. So we look forward to the continued presence, because even our community, I think our people will feel more comfortable in going, taking their family to the parks if they know that these are safe environments where they can be, especially a lot more of our people these days live in condos or apartments. They don't have a yard, they don't have the ranch to go to. Any of the public parks are the green space that they have. So anything we can do to counter the negativity that's going on out there is a good thing. But I have to tell you, I mean, I don't know if the other directors think, but you presented the most refreshing budget we've seen so far. And trust me, we're just about here. If I'm not here, Senator Tello, I know definitely will be here for every budget that we have. So I'm pleased to see the budget that you presented, and you certainly have my support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Senator Nelson, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Director.
Good morning, ma'am.
Patrick, good morning. I do have 2 questions in reference to the Parks and Recreation. The timeline of Haga'hågan Guåhan. What is the timeline where you're going to receive feedback from the engineers, and upon that, how long do you anticipate the execution of that design?
Okay, like I said previously, the negotiation was done last Friday with the engineering firm and DPW.
Yes.
So hopefully we can get the result by next week.
By next week,
And then you know, if the funding is to par with the negotiation, then yeah, it's going to go through. But it's going to be actually presented to the swimming pool task force, which meets every month.
Right.
And you know, this task force has been together for a while, which now includes the Swim Club Federation, Mr. Frank Flores. So he's also part of the task force, and he's also part of the evaluation that we included him in.
Yeah.
So yes, definitely. As soon as we get that, it will be, you know.
So that's an ambiguous response. No,
Yes.
We understand that the timeline will be finished by next week.
Yes.
But after that, there's uncertainty, or there's not a clear picture of the phase that's going to be next,
yes.
right?
And
so that's why I'm re-asking the question, because it's very ambiguous in that response where the Swimming Federation meets once a month, this and that, and this and that. So, and also the appropriation or the money that is needed, how is that going to be funded?
It's going to be funded under probably the general funds under the governor.
Is that money set aside already for the swimming pool?
I'm not aware yet, because the negotiation, it depends on what the amount is on the negotiation.
Okay, so does that require additional appropriation from the legislature?
I don't know, ma'am. Probably, I can't tell right now.
I think that I would recommend that we find the answers to these questions,
Sure.
right? So that we can move forward in an expeditious manner. The swimming pool has been an issue for years now, and the children are really losing out in this ability to grow in athleticism, and this is also an outlet for them to promote their well-being, even their emotional well-being as well. So I would like to see if you can submit to the Committee of Office of Finance and Budget the mechanism on how the engineering plan is going to be executed on how it's going to be appropriated or how it will be funded, if the governor is going to do a user transfer authority, if we need an additional appropriation from the legislature, because I don't see that money set aside in your budget for that execution. And if we did plan on setting aside money in the budget for that execution, then that means that the pool would be done in FY23, but we don't see that here. And so, or if it's going to be funded by a federal grant. That would be good to know, especially because you're overseeing this. Where's that money going to come from, and how soon can we get this pool done? You mentioned that the Swimming Federation meets once a month. So did they meet already this month? By the time that they meet, will the engineering plan be complete so that they can discuss it?
Yes, ma'am. They're waiting for the engineering plan to be completed and negotiated, and then we'll meet this month, probably next week or so, once we get the result from Public Works. Because Public Works is also part of the task force.
So the swimming, what did you call it, the pool task force? So they do not have a designated time that they meet monthly. Is that what I'm understanding?
They meet on the third week of the month, so definitely by next week, or not next week.
The third week of the month?
Third week, yeah.
Okay, so what day of the week do they meet?
On Tuesdays.
Okay, on Tuesdays. So hopefully the engineering plan will be done by next week,
Yes,
Tuesday.
ma'am.
Okay.
And then we can see what we, before actually the GITA was willing to fund, do the funding, so we just need to know if they're going to provide the funding after that.
Okay, and do you still have to request,
Yes.
do a request for bid?
Well, the negotiation already is done. If the negotiation is done for the engineering firm, then it's done. It's just once the engineering firm does all the plans and specs and all that, then we go out for bid.
Right, so that's going to be longer, right? So they're going to, if the task force
Yeah.
meets in
Well,
the third
the-
week of the Tuesday, and then they approve the engineering plan, you still have to go for bid.
Yes, ma'am. And then, I think what we discussed was the projection was, by December of this year to get construction going.
Okay, that's a long time from now to start construction.
Because we're just going to be starting off by, getting the engineering firm to do assessment and see if it's workable. If it's workable, then we're going to go ahead. If not, then, we need to sit down again and address the situation if it's not.
Well, earlier, you claimed that it can be repaired.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it is workable. What do you mean by what is workable? If it's the funding is workable, or
if
the cost?
the cost is what was, what the issue right now is the cost. And if we have funding for that cost, the cost of that, then yeah, we'll move forward.
Okay, so the government received like over $1 billion in federal government assistance. So how would you project that would be an issue? Have you received any ARP funds, or has that been discussed to fund the Saganaw project?
Well, they gave me the ARP funds, but I can address that if there's any issue that needs to go to that pool. If I have the money, then I will probably also help out in getting that pool done. Right now, when they did the assessment, the pool actually was over 1.3 million to repair and have it done. So I don't know if that's still the amount because of the materials and all that's been, moving up and all that. So hopefully that, it stays on that level.
Okay, so like $2 million is a drop in the bucket for the amount that the government received in ARP to fix the pool, especially for our community at large. It's very disappointing to see that, for myself growing up, Guam had parks that were maintained. The restrooms were available. They had restroom attendees. We had our pools fully functioning, and we were able to go to our swim meets. And we can't afford that same opportunity for our children today. And it's really, really disheartening to see that we are not prioritizing these projects for our family and the community, especially for the children. And that's why we're having difficulty when it comes to sending them to school, when it comes to motivating them, because there's so little options for the families and the children to go out and spend time together and be productive in a positive way. And so I hope that you make this your priority, Director, and I hope that we see something before December, because we don't know what's going to happen.
Yes, ma'am.
In this upcoming year.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I hope that you make sure you secure this before the unknowns happen, if you know what I mean. Okay. Another question I have for you is the, this may seem very trivial, but the trash pickup at Tumon and at our other parks, how is that done? Is that done through a contract?
No, ma'am, it's done by our personnel.
Okay. So,
we have four individuals that pick up the trash, all around the island.
okay, and how often is this trash pickup?
Every day they're out there.
What time do they pick up the trash?
They start at 5 in the morning.
Okay, and what time are they supposed to end?
It's 8 hours. They're supposed to end at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
And what do they prioritize? What areas do they prioritize when they start at 5 a.m.?
They go around the Paseo. There are a lot of trash at Paseo. They go around the west and east Agana. Then they hit Ipal and Matapang. And then our crew from the cemetery will hit the southern areas.
So how many crews do you have picking up trash?
There's 4.
There's 4 crews.
And then there's 2 at the cemetery that does the southern side when there's no burial.
Okay, so you have 4 crews that consist of 4 different vehicles, or is it 2 vehicles?
No, it's 2 individuals per vehicle.
2 individuals per vehicle?
Yes.
So you only have 2 vehicles picking up trash that cover Boat Basin, Agana area, and then Tumon?
Yes,
And you start in Agana?
Yes, ma'am. They split up where they go up north. One comes from the south, and they meet in the central area.
Okay. And the reason why I'm asking this, I don't really like getting into the weeds, right, of operations, but 10 a.m. Sunday morning, we witnessed a vehicle that did not have a government license plate going down Tumon, picking up trash. And this person driving down Tumon was exceeding 10 miles per hour. There were people already at the beach, and he would just, whoever it was that was driving, would just go around the people in a really expeditious manner. And so I ask you, Director, to look at your operations and that you make sure that you focus on prioritizing the populated areas, that you start with that at the beginning of the day, because you don't know if there was someone, how the children like to cover themselves in the sand and cover their bodies in the sand, and then, it's just their head, right? How they play. And so it was very dangerous in the way this person was picking up trash, and there was only 1 person. There wasn't 2. And so that's my concern, is that you look at your operations on how you prioritize your trash pickup.
We do have, Senator, we do have people come in on weekends to pick up trash. And if it's an unmarked vehicle, that's not ours, because we do have our vehicles that are marked.
Yeah,
So
that's why I'm asking, because they came down Tumon and they covered the whole Tumon and they were picking up trash out of the concrete bins.
Yes,
So I
usually
don't know how that happened, if it's unmarked.
Yes,
But there
ma'am.
was no government plate on it, and there was no government signage on the vehicle. So I ask that you look into that. And also, if it's already 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., the family's already at the beach, and they're still dealing with probably the day prior's trash, because I also received photographs from people, like 2 people, who sent me photographs that day showing me that the trash was not picked up. And so, like I said, if you can prioritize the areas that are populated first, that would be good.
Yes, ma'am. And
you.
you know, like on the weekends, we do go to those populated places, Ipaumatapag and
Right.
Ipan.
I'm not saying you don't.
Yeah.
I'm saying if you can prioritize it since you start at
We-
5 a.m. and
we
the personnel is not driving at 10 a.m. where there are already people on the beach and going over 10 miles per hour, that's very dangerous.
Yes, ma'am.
Safety first, right? Especially in leadership, we always focus on how do we mitigate the risks, and maybe they should be also given safety briefs before they step off in the day. We all need to be reminded of that anyways. Thank you, Director. Now I have questions about we have a bill before us that we had a public hearing on, and it is an act to advance historic preservation programs. Just a moment. I just want to make sure. No, this is not it. The bill is an act to repeal and reenact subsection 76602 of Article 6, Chapter 76, Title 21 Guam Code Annotated, relative to restoring funds collected for building permit fees to the Guam Preservation Trust Fund. And so in the fiscal note that was needed for this bill, essentially what this bill does is right-size the revenue appropriation to go back to Guam Preservation Trust Fund, which is supposed to be 100%. Several years ago, I believe it was in the 31st legislature or the 33rd, they changed it where the Guam Preservation Trust is only going to receive 50% of the revenue, and the other half of the revenue would go towards the SHPO's office. And so in the fiscal note in 2018, revenues collected was $611,435, and deposit in 2018 into the Guam Preservation Trust Fund was $475,000. Is there a reason why $611,000, the whole $611,435 was not deposited in? It seems like it's about $130,000 short that was deposited into the GPT in 2018.
Senator, that's really information that we don't have. It was 2018. We're not even aware of.
So how much did the SHPO receive in 2018?
From the permits?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I'm going to have to get back to the records.
Okay, and then also, if you probably don't know 2018, then you probably don't know 2019 and 2020. But I will tell you that out of the $820,229 collected, only $761,000 was deposited in 2019. And in 2020, out of the $504,004 collected, they actually increased it to $735,000. So I want to know if the SHPO's office received 50% of that money, and where did that money go if you received it in 2018, 19, and 20?
Yeah, so actually, I think you're slightly mistaken as far as the allocations of the 50%, because it's actually 25% that goes to the Guam Museum, 25% goes to DPW, 50% to GPT. There was only one law that allowed $100,000 to the Archaeological Mitigation Fund. I think that was in 2018. That was not received by our office until 19 or 20, and that was only a one-time shot that came into our office.
What is the amount that you received in 2019 and 2020?
100,000.
Per
so that
each?
was, yes,
Okay.
that was it. So,
So that's all you receive. You only receive 100,000.
correct.
Okay. Then I think this bill is doable if they only receive 100,000. Are you short any money? Are you asking or requesting additional money? Is the SHPO office asking or requesting additional money to operate in
Yes, I am.
the upcoming fiscal year? How much is that?
I was just going to give my testimony in just a bit when it
Oh,
comes
okay.
to my turn.
Okay.
So-
Oh, I thought we covered you already. No? Oh, okay. Sorry, Pat.
That's okay.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, that's all I have for DPR Director, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you. But Pat, I think you have a presentation you want to talk about SHPO, right?
Yes,
Because
yes.
I know that the pre-meeting at the Office of Finance Budget, you've identified some shortfall, and I want to make sure that
Yes, sir.
we're all aware of it. Okay,
Yes.
so we can figure
So
out how to help
I
you
have
out.
a testimony.
Okay,
When
please.
it's my turn. I'm just waiting for Parks and Rec to
Okay.
finish off.
But go ahead, if you want to ask him, Senator Snick.
I might have the answer through my testimony. I don't know if you want to wait and ask after I'm done.
Is that? Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Lawton.
Okay. Everyone's done with Parks and Rec side?
We're good. Now we want to hear about you.
I almost forgot what I was going to say. Well, thank you very much for the 7 senators that took some time out this morning to listen to Parks and Recreation and Historic Preservation. I just want to preface my testimony that, we were in line with the budget that was provided by the administration. However, I think I missed the bus on the additional appropriation that will take us to the efficiency of what our office needs and requires. So with that said, I would like to provide this testimony. Half-a-day senators of the 36th Guam Legislature, my name is Patrick Lujan, the Guam State Historic Preservation Officer, and I am here today to plead for your help and support for your Historic Preservation Office. As small of an office as this is, the impact on our island is tremendous. Not only are we obligated to preserve and protect our precious cultural resources as a local government, but the United States has also made historic preservation a priority, requiring federal dollars spent to be reviewed and approved by SHPOs throughout the nation via the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. Yes, we even approved the changing of federal light bulbs. What is our current posture? Glad you ask. We have 2 archaeologists, which will go down to 1 at the end of the summer. 2 archaeological field technicians who double as front desk customer service representatives, 2 administrative support staff, a historian, and me. It's a small office. Already a research-intensive job that takes some time to review and requires periodic field work, we are inundated on a daily basis. Here are just some numbers from January of this year. 667 DPW permits reviewed and processed, 224 federal Section 106 received and reviewed, 23 archaeological technical reports reviewed, and only 48 site inspections, which should be much, much higher than that. Not to mention our federal mandates, reburial efforts at multiple sites around the island, all complex in nature, monitoring and administering the Guam Build-Up Programmatic Agreement, big-time developers and companies calling daily about their projects, updating our historic preservation plan, trying to modernize our local statutes, and the all-important NAFTA Mañanata Reinternment Project, which the government is obligated to do, to finally lay our ancestors to rest, some being in boxes for over 100 years. It's a daunting task, to say the least, which leads to delays, lapses, and lack of oversight in our mission. Small office, huge impact. So what is the local government's investment in this? Glad you ask. We have received an average of only $475,000 annually over the years. In fact, it has gradually decreased along with our federal grant, which is less than that. Quite the speck, despite the impact we have on our island. Our rich history has evolved in just the past few years. Most of you know that. Important information not only for us, but definitely for our future people. Our office is the cradle to grave in Guam archaeology, reviewing project plans to the proper curation and everything in between. Our customers range from the Governor of Guam and the Admiral of JRM to you, senators, to huge companies and foreign consulates, to the local farmers in Talofofo. I am not one to make excuses. I hold this position as the SHPO in high regard, but I have reached the point of exhaustion of reacting to problems and being blamed for the holdup of projects. Our current status is far from where we need to be. We have changed our office culture as public servants since I came back to the office, but we still need to be more, or we need to move from reactive to proactive, from responding to calls to having a systematic process that assures projects are being done properly. Small office, huge impact. So how can the 36th Guam legislature help? Glad you ask. Our operational audit calls for 17 personnel. Only 12 positions are funded, 8 currently filled. To get to where we need to be in terms of operational efficiency, I have proposed the funding of just 5 more bodies. 5. I can break down the needs and the justification of the 5 if so requested, but for the sake of time, I will proceed. With a very reasonable request of an increase of just $350,000 for permanent employment, we will be able to provide our community with faster review time, scheduled field inspections, hands-on GIS expertise, full-on reburial planning, and many other things. But wait, there's more. There are billions of dollars worth of projects ongoing and in the near future for the military and other federal projects, as well as our local government and private developers. Guess where one of the stops are at? You're right, the SHPO's office. I'm not asking for $1 million, nor am I asking for pay raises, though our archaeologist positions do need a pay adjustment considering the technicality of that job. I'm asking for just a slight tick up that will be beneficial in multiple facets of our government. Imagine the billions of dollars that require our review. Imagine the archaeological and historical importance we are expected to uphold. All for 0.0008% of the government budget. That's a lot of zeros. 0.0008% of 1 that we asked for. As stewards of our island, this little increase will validate your verbal support given over the years. It will prove to our island that preserving our history is important to this legislative body. Small office, huge economic impact, huge cultural impact. Situs Maasi.
Thank you, Mr. Lohan, and I'm glad you asked. You know, I asked the question earlier. Do you have a copy of this budget?
I didn't.
Okay.
Submitted?
Huh?
Is that the one I gave you, your office? Yes.
This is what that Parks and Rec, which includes you, were in discussion.
Yes.
Okay, do you have it in front of you? Please, I want to make sure that I'm going to talk it through real simple, real easy.
Sure.
Okay? Because I asked that question earlier. Under the Guam Historic Resources and Historic Preservation, is that you? Would that be you? It would be. It identifies that you're going to get $450,274, correct? The first page, it's the cover sheet. It should be
450, yes, I'm
right?
seeing that.
Okay. And there's a short, and there's a minus of 19,000. I asked that earlier in
That's
the
a good
very
question.
beginning.
I would ask the same question. I don't know.
No, I'm going to ask you because you identified in your testimony.
Yeah.
You're asking for 350.
350 more.
Does this budget fulfill your requirements?
No, sir.
So you're asking for 350
Yes, sir.
more?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I'm glad you asked. And with that, I don't think I'll ask Senator Nelson to follow up because she's the oversight of that area.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. An additional 350.
Correct.
Okay. It would be good to say that. Okay.
I mentioned that in the front additional proposition.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you only received out of the GPT fund $100,000 annually.
It's not been annually. It has only occurred one time.
Okay, and that was in what year again?
Like 2019 or 20, one of the two. I think it was 19 once I first
Okay.
came in.
And how do you utilize the $100,000?
So it was specific to just the archaeological supplies. So that's what we've been using that for the equipment for our staff, field equipment, you know, whether it's PPEs, looking at, you know, but it was specific to just that.
Are you utilizing any of your staff that is funded by the local government? Are you using any of them to do projects that are DoD projects?
We use all staff for all projects.
Okay, and how much do you receive in federal dollars specifically, and are they specific to the DoD projects?
No, they are not. So National Park Service is a allocated fund. We've been averaging probably 420 a year over the last couple of years. That has slowly decreased as well.
Okay, 420,000. How much has it slowly decreased by? What do you currently get?
It's 420.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how is it decreasing?
A couple of thousand every year. Not drastic, but it's
Okay.
slowly went down.
And do you know the reason for its decrease?
That one is allocated by offshore drilling. So it's a national allocation, so it's all dependent. We don't control the amount we get on a yearly basis.
So, I'm just trying to remember, because this has been an ongoing thing since 2008. The programmatic agreement, from my understanding, funds a portion of your office, is that correct?
One archaeologist.
One archaeologist. And is that federally funded?
That is federally funded, yes. And that
Okay.
is vacant right now.
What is the amount?
The amount, I don't know how much they paid. They use a third party to do the hiring off island. So we've had since the 2010, so in 12 years or almost 12 years, we've filled that liaison position for a total of possibly 16 months out of the 12 years of that agreement. So I don't even rely on that body for budgetary purposes. When we did have one within the last year, he just left 2 months ago. He brought value to it, but we're waiting for them to fill that vacancy again, and they said not until probably after August.
I'm trying to understand the length of vacancy, especially given the past 3 years. We've had opportunities to negotiate with the Department of Defense in certain projects. And so is there a reason why there wasn't advocacy? Because if we're using local government dollars for operations to ensure that the programmatic agreement is in place, and we didn't negotiate additional personnel that perhaps we believe that the federal government should provide, should fund, is there a reason why we did not negotiate certain terms to ensure a continuity?
No particular reason why, ma'am. Just been inundated with other stuff to do and trying to get the office rolling. Just never came across trying to go back and renegotiate something like that. Trying to do everything myself almost.
Some of these negotiations took place during the time you were serving, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but my concern was that the person sitting there at the time thought that what they negotiated was a great deal for Guam. And it was very basic negotiable terms, like ensuring that that soldiers or sailors or that the military personnel get cultural awareness training, which is really a standardized training in the military anyway. You know that, I know that. And so...
Well, not necessarily. We kind of tweaked it specific to Guam, and it wasn't initially in the programmatic agreement. Well, when the Guam build-up one, so it was instilled in the...
cultural awareness training, if you're coming into a different country or a different area and Guam culture is very different from that of the mainland. I would consider that the leaders would initially ensure that they knew exactly what the military personnel that will be living on this island, what they would expect.
Yes.
So that is standard. And then, and this year, 12 years of vacancy, or minus 16 months, so what is that? Like 10 months, 10 years, 8 months, right? 10 years, 10 months. So 10 years and 10 months of vacancy, and opportunity for negotiating happened within the past 2 years, has not been done, or 3 years, when they were readdressing the MIT and other projects. The office had not once advocated to ensure that we don't use local funds to, or we seek more federal funds to mitigate the challenges that we are experiencing or the concerns that the community has for the military developments. And so that's a concern. And now we're seeing an additional request for an increase of $350,000, which I support, but small office, huge impact. You know, you said that many times in your testimony, and I agree with you. But there has to be a point where we start collaborating better through your office, the needs and the concerns of the community, that where additional funding is needed, especially because you've had that vacancy. So it seems like this is something that is not important. It seems like this is something that has been put on the back burner, and then now the office is strained because they have to not only address the build-up, the development going on inside the fence, but they also have to deal with the development happening within our community. So I ask that you work a little bit harder to see what we can achieve through further support, especially through the federal government when it comes to development that is within the fence.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Thank you. It's not a comment. I'd like you to work towards that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Nelson.
Thank you for that.
On the funding request that you put, like I said, glad you asked.
I do have a breakdown, sir, of what that pays
Okay,
for.
well,
so.
what we're gonna do is, not at this hearing, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna schedule a meeting with you, bring all your and I'm gonna invite all my colleagues to participate at the Office of Finance and Budget, and we're gonna scrub it, because even one of my colleagues down here advised me there's federal money involved. So we need to know all the details, and because you asked, it's germane to your budget, and we want to address it.
Thank
but
you.
I don't want us to take a couple of hours to discuss this publicly, and I'm not hiding anything. We reveal it, we'll show it, we'll address it, and then we all come to terms what we need to do to take care of the SHPO office. You may be small, but you have an impact. Senator Shelton, do you have any questions you want to pose to the panel? But we will meet. It will be very soon, because we want to close the book on Parks and Rec and SHPO. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Guåhan, and thank you, Director Alcantara, and to the whole panel for being here today. I know my colleagues brought up a lot of different issues from the department. There's still a lot of work for us to do, though I know there's a lot of progress that's been made in the last year, and we've been in constant communication, Mr. Director. We do have a informational hearing that we'll have to address especially the pool issues, because we have a lot of folks in the community who want to hear it publicly, and so that's going to be coming up at the end of the summer when we have some time after these budget hearings for everyone to come to the table, the swimming federation and all the folks who are concerned, and the children who want to get back into the pools. You know, they're a little bit sad that we weren't able to do it for the summer and open up, but we know that we're going to get there, and we need to continue to work together, and we want to support the department and all of the fine work your folks are doing. So I want to thank you and everyone for being here today, and I look forward to working with you throughout the year to support this budget. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Shelton. the committee will conclude this budget hearing, but we're not done with SHPO, okay? I want to make sure that's clear. We still need to sit down and go over the details of what you need. The 350, I don't think you're going to have reservations with my colleagues, but they want to make sure that all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. Okay, the committee will continue to receive testimony. Please address your written testimony to the Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, Housing, and submit it via email to Senator Joe S. Agustin at gmail.com or to my office located at Rand Care Building, 2nd floor, Suite 3, 761 Marine Corps Drive. Jesus Marcy for your attendance, and you will be contacting Mr. Lohan so we can schedule, okay? And participate in today's hearing. And for those at home, thank you for watching. The budget hearing on Bill 276-36 COR relative to the Department of Parks and Recreation State Historic Preservation Office is duly heard and is now adjourned at 11:01. Please be safe and have a nice day. Thank you.